What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on Game Junction. So I wanted to talk about a few things today. A couple ideas that I've been thinking about, stuff I've had kind of swirling around in my head. We talked a little bit about the new Zelda game, which is 2D Zelda, and it's kind of running on the same engine as the Link's Awakening remake. But I want to kind of dive into kind of a couple of topics here. And this is about some upcoming Nintendo properties. There's been kind of talk on what's going to happen next with Pokemon. Are we getting a brand new mainline Pokemon next? Not counting spin-offs. Spin-offs could still technically happen for the Switch One. We're running out of time, but it could still happen. And in previous history, what's happened is, it's multiple times over it's happened, is that Pokemon will launch for a system when the next gen system is already out. So we think back to, I don't know, we'll say for instance, Pokemon Yellow. Yeah, or Game Boy Color. You think back to Pokemon Black 2, White 2. 3DS was already out. Then you look back to Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon on the 3DS. The Switch was already out. So I think I screwed that up. 3DS was already out for Black 2, White 2, and then Switch is already out for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So this is kind of a repeating thing, and then what happens with those is it's always like an additional game, like a third kind of added on game, except for, Black 2, White 2, which was technically the only direct sequel we've had. You could say Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but to me it's really just like the better version of Sun and Moon with extra content, stuff like that. Pretty much the same story. Like if you want to get crazy into it with all the Pokemon lore, that's not really the case. But with Pokemon Yellow, obviously it could play on the Game Boy Color too, and it was meant to be more anime based, and really is the only anime game like that we've gotten, where it's really kind of centered around the anime. But I mean, that's a prime example dating all the way back to the beginning of Pokemon. So for Pokemon, I feel like there's a chance that something comes, be it, we've been wanting the Black 1 and Black 2, White 1, White 2 remakes for a while. I wouldn't see why, if they made a remake of it, it doesn't just include everything from 1 and 2 of those games. I mean, I would hope it does. They're not going to sell us on a Black 1 remake and then a Black 2 remake again. But it's possible that still comes. However, at this point in time, I don't think it's that likely. I feel like that's probably still going to be a Switch 2 game. But definitely a spin-off could pop up. I mean, there are so many Pokemon spin-offs. You got Pokemon Trotsy, and you got Pokemon Puzzle League, and you got Pokemon Ranger, and Mystery Dungeon, and the list goes on and on. Stadium, Battle Revolution for the Wii. There's so many, right? And we've never really gotten a direct sequel to Pokemon XD, so that could be a kind of cool attempt if they're going to bring another Pokemon game out for the Switch One, which I feel like there's a good chance that we get some sort of spin-off, something that isn't the next main line. I think the biggest reason for that is they saw what happened with Scarlet and Violet. They couldn't optimize the Switch One, which they should have been able to. Obviously, there are games that are more performance intensive, and they couldn't do it with Scarlet and Violet, and still never decided to patch it and fix the issues. I still love the game, but very much has its flaws. So my kind of thinking with this is the next mainline game, the next generation with new Pokemon, is definitely going to be a Switch 2. We're definitely going to get the Black and White remake. It's going to happen. It doesn't make sense for it to not happen. And to be honest with you, I'm more excited about that happening than just about anything else in the Pokemon world right now. Of course, I want a new generation. I love Pokemon. I play all of them. I still love Scarlet and Violet, despite its, flaws. We already know about Pokemon Legends, ZA, or however you want to say it. Super excited about that, because Arceus really blew up and took off. And it was I think it was a lot of a timing thing, when it happened. People were still stuck at home and things like that. But it did very well, and I want to see that series keep going. But one thing that doesn't get brought up much anymore, it used to, but I think people have given up on it, is getting another Let's Go game, it only makes sense to get a Let's Go set in the Johto region, so for Silver, Gold, and Crystal. I think it's still going to happen. I feel like it's still going to happen. I don't think that was a one and done. It could be. It could be a one and done. I mean, it could make sense for it to be a one and done, and it could make sense for it to not be a one and done. They just want to capitalize, the original Pokemon, and it was nostalgia cash grab, as people say. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Complete different Pokemon formula. I see it as a completely different type of Pokemon game, although it is technically, and has been confirmed to technically be, a mainline game. Believe it or not, it actually is a mainline game, which is pretty cool, and I liked it. Yes, it is much more simplistic, but I enjoyed that experience because I play so much Pokemon, have played every Pokemon, just dang near every spinoff as well. Maybe I can count on my hands the amount of spinoffs I haven't played, and I'm talking about even the weird stuff for the Pokemon Mini. I played all those too, so I can't even think off the top of my head. Maybe the Pokemon Trading Card Game 2, the sequel, because that was Japan only. Played the crap out of 1, and actually, funny enough, I did play 2. That's a lie, because I imported it back in the day. Couldn't read Japanese text, but got the gist of it. Pokemon, RPG card battling game, meant to kind of promote the cards, basically. So I did play that. I imported it. But I think as far as that goes, next mainline Pokemon with new generation, all that jazz, come and Switch 2. That's my thoughts. Pokemon Legends ZA, could it come to Switch 2 as well? Or come to Switch 1 as well? Is it a Switch 2 only? Is it only on Switch 1? It's hard to say, because I feel like being so close to Switch 2 coming out, they definitely could bring that over. It's not like Pokemon to really do that, but I'll be honest with you, Legends Arceus is great, still had a lot of issues performance-wise, and I feel like a game like that could super benefit from a Switch 2, especially if it has DSSL, you know what I'm saying there, DSLR, DLSSR. I'm just going to leave that in there. The AI upscaling technology, essentially. And I would love to see that there. And so it gets brought into question about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We talked about in last week's video. If you haven't checked it out, check it out after this video. But that could definitely be a cross-platform game for sure, cross-generation game. And I want to see it on Switch 2. If that means not getting on the Switch 1 at all, I'm fine with that, because a game like that could definitely benefit from the power of whatever the successor console is, because Metroid Prime Remastered was great. It was a great game. It was a great remaster, almost a remake. But, honestly, you can do more with the successor. You got more power to work with. And a first-person game like that, although, like I said, remastered look great on the Switch, this can look and perform even better. Set it at, solid 60 frames per second, 4K. God, that would look beautiful. I've always wanted to see Metroid Prime in 4K. Visuals don't matter to me as much as gameplay. So at the end of the day, am I going to play it regardless? Of course. But I would love to see that really decked out in 4K, because obviously Nintendo properties haven't gotten that yet. And I would love, that's a game to see in 4K if there's any. I don't care about too many 2D Mario platformers being in 4K, although that would be nice as well. But I think what it's going to be is that Pokemon mainline going to be on Switch 2. And then, talking also about the Metroid stuff, it had me thinking as well, like, what's next for Zelda? We know that a 2D Zelda is coming. It's a brand new game where you play as Zelda. I couldn't be happier. But here's my worry about that a little bit. Link's Awakening remake, great. But the problem is that it had a lot of performance issues too, and it shouldn't have. First of all, it's a remake of a Game Boy and a Game Boy Color game, so it shouldn't have had the issues it had. It had a lot of jittering, a lot of frame drops, a lot of those problems. The next discussion is on the next 3D Zelda. What do I think about that? I've been asked a few times. I think that it's not going to reuse assets. It's not going to be the same type of game, or at least the same looking game as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think they're going to triple dip on that it can have the same sort of formula and be open world, and I want it to be. I love those two games. Ocarina of Time was my favorite game of all time until Breath of the Wild came out. And then that was my favorite game until Tears of the Kingdom came out. Tears of the Kingdom felt like what they always wanted Breath of the Wild to be. So I think that it's going to be something different. I think that the open world formula stays, but it's going to be something different. It's going to have new assets. It's going to look different. It could go back, there's a potential it could go back to the stylized look of Twilight Princess in that world, because I would love to see that. I love Twilight Princess. I love the darker look of that and the darker look of the game. And I feel like they could do that. If they mash up Twilight Princess and Tears of the Kingdom and give us that, I feel like it would be perfect. But I do think, and this is my prediction, that the next 3D Zelda is not going to be, a third to, it's not going to be a trilogy of those games. That's my opinion. I don't think they're going to reuse the assets again. We've seen that with, obviously, Ocarina of Time and then Majora's Mask, but we haven't seen Beyond doing it twice, using the same assets. And I think being a new console, they're going to want to build up from the ground up, and they probably have been working on it for a while. They've probably been working on it since Tears of the Kingdom came out, if not before that. They already knew, the Zelda team is large. The teams for these big franchises, Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Mario Kart, all the big ones for them. Metroid, unfortunately, is not a big property for them. It's never been a big seller. Metroid Dread has sold the most, and it still hasn't sold, anything crazy compared to Nintendo numbers. So that's what I think with that. I think that the 3D Zelda is going to be something different. It'll keep the formula because it works and it's great. I think it'll be another open world type formula, but the aesthetics of it, at least, are going to be completely different. I would love to see something towards the lines of Twilight Princess, but we could, and it's very possible, very, very possible. We've gotten 3 games in this art style, technically more, but 3 big games in this art style. It could be a Wind Waker open world game, because you take that sailing and being able to visit a much larger map than even, say Tears of the Kingdom, not counting the sky and the underworld and stuff like that. But that's a big possibility. Or it could be a brand new aesthetic, which is what I would want to see the most. But if they take another sort of art style and do the darker thing, that's what I would like to see. I think it would be great. I like dark stuff. That's visually the one I think that looks the coolest is Twilight Princess, but I like it all. So that's my thoughts with those, with some of the Nintendo properties. And then I've got more to discuss on some Nintendo stuff, answering some viewer questions as well. Be sure to leave a subscribe, drop a like, comment whatever your favorite Nintendo property is, and be sure to follow on the social media. We're updating about the podcast. The new podcast that's about anime is coming up as well, so stay tuned for updates for that. And by the way, I've got daily content on all the social media every single day. Don't miss a day. Got all kinds of stuff. The Facebook gets a ton a day, different posts, different reels, all kinds of different stuff. Plus the Game Junction Lounge on Facebook, you got to join it. We're about to hit 36, if not already 3,600 members. So be sure to join that. And we also got the Discord as well. Everything is in the link tree in the description. And I'll see you guys later.